If you were one of the lucky 500 individuals who were able to secure a PRS Silver Sky Nebula all the way back in 2020, changing the guitar from its kind of original collector's state is probably something you never considered doing. Well, there's one PRS Nebula Silver Sky owner who did just that. Neal Schon from Journey, one of the founders and just an incredible guitar player, especially, that 80s era. He's just very iconic. He took his PRS Silver Sky Nebula and just totally went nuts with it and did a whole 80s makeover to the guitar. And in today's episode, we're going to dig into this kind of crazy version of the PRS Silver Sky Nebula. On Neal's Instagram the other day, he posted this image of his Nebula Silver Sky on a workbench saying, "Looking forward to checking this PRS Nebula customized to my specs by the Gary Brower." Obviously, Gary's got to be a, one hell of a tech if he's working with Neal, and obviously the work looks fantastic. But looking at this image, the big things obviously are a Floyd Rose installed in the guitar, as well as a humbucker in the bridge, which is just absolutely wild. If you look at the front two pickups as well, they actually have also appear to have been changed. There's writing that isn't the standard writing on the cover, at least that you get from a Silver Sky. Knowing Neal, he gets a ton of custom spec pickups done for him as well. So they're probably just a set of custom wound pickups for him. If you can tell what brand that is though, let me know in the comments down below. I definitely can't. It's nothing I recognize at least. But yeah, a humbucker in the bridge and a Floyd Rose is just absolutely wild. Now, this is kind of interesting because I've seen a lot of comments and discussion online about this guitar being very polarizing, very controversial. Either people absolutely love it or people absolutely hate what he's done. And I can see kind of both trains of thought in terms of, whether you love or hate this guitar and what he's done with it. But I personally love it, and I'm going to kind of explain to you guys why as we get through some more of the specs that Neal's actually discussed with this guitar. So as I mentioned, Neal is very active on Instagram. On April 4th, 2020, he actually posted about receiving the Nebula from PRS Guitars and Wildest Guitars specifically. So we know that he wasn't given this guitar. He probably had called them up immediately, which is exactly what I did when I had mine, before they actually were announced that they were sold. Hit up his contact and was like, "Hey, secure me one of those," and they probably did it. But if you actually read the caption from the day he got it, here's a little teaser of a PRS John Mayer Silver Sky that showed up earlier today from good friends at Wildest Guitars. "I do like it, but feel I'm going to Frankenstein it a bit and experiment," with a winky face. And so from day one, a few people have noticed and followed Neal, knew he had a Nebula. He's already considered from day one modifying this guitar, and we're getting on 3 years later, so definitely took him a little while to do this, but he warned everyone going into this when he got it that it's probably not going to stay stock at least some point down the road and in the future. Now let's talk about the camp of the people who are kind of upset about this, because I do get it, but at the same time, I think, you just got to logic it out, and we're going to do that right now. So the people who are upset about this are either purists who think, it's a guitar, collector's guitar that shouldn't have been modified. I do understand that, but listen, Neal is a massive rock star. He's a guitar collector. This guitar was never going to re-enter the market, and I think that's why people were maybe a little bit upset, because it's one Nebula that they might not have the chance to purchase later down the road, because there's only 500 of them made, and the ones that are for sale, there aren't that many as of last time I checked a few weeks ago. They're fetching really crazy numbers on Reverb, obviously. And I think for people, the more that get modded or get destroyed, they're just that much more out of reach, that much more unobtainium than they already are. But either way, Neal was probably never going to sell his guitar. It was going to just go in the vault, even if he stopped playing it, as, it's a really cool guitar, the finish is badass, and, I like it, I dig it, but I'm not going to play it on stage or anything. So this guitar was never going to recirculate for individuals to have the chance to purchase it. So that's kind of one knock against, the collector's value of it and everything like that. It's Neal's guitar. It's 1 out of 500. It was never going to be part of that discussion. Secondly, when it comes to someone as big as Neal, he doesn't care about collectability. He doesn't care about, oh, it's 1 of 500. It's a really special guitar. He doesn't care. It's kind of ridiculous to be like, oh no, like what's he doing? Like he's just, killed the value of the guitar. He does not care about the resale value of that guitar at all. And for him, it's a great instrument. The build quality is amazing. And I think the biggest selling point, obviously, of the Nebula is the finish is just incredible. And for him, he's definitely more of a super strat kind of player, a bit more of a, HSS sort of guy for sure than just, what the standard guitar is with the standard trem arm. So for him to, add a Floyd Rose, add a bridge humbucker, I'm pretty much willing to guarantee we're going to see it on an upcoming Journey tour, which is going to be amazing. I mean, John Mayer's the only, guy who's, big enough to play stadiums, at least, who you're going to see playing a Nebula Silver Sky besides Neal now, right? So you're going to have two different people, two different opportunities to see a Nebula Silver Sky in the wild like that, whereas majority of people who bought these are collectors and probably just going to sit on them. Like most I've seen online from even people showing off that they have one, they still have the plastic on the guard. They literally are like, oh yeah, I've played less than an hour on this thing. And they're literally just keeping them as investments. So, it's one of those things where I'd way rather Neal enjoy it and turn it into something he loves and then actually get to see it out in the wild and see this guitar, being played, which is what it's designed to do at the end of the day. Did Neal respond to my comment asking about the pickups? Nope, he did not. But someone did ask about the radius. Does it still have the 7¼ inch radius like the stock Silver Sky specs do? And he replies, no, it's got a 15.5 radius on it. So this guitar has undergone more than just the pickups and the trem bar upgrades. He's also changed out the specs of the neck as well. Maybe he's done the frets too. That's very, very possible. He's changed them out to something that's definitely more of his favorite spec. He just mentioned in kind of a blanket statement, the guitar's been, transformed to my specifications. So I'm willing to bet the frets are probably changed out as well. And in this video as well, which, I'm just going to play it for you guys because his playing's always phenomenal. You can obviously tell that the nut had to be changed out as well to match for the Floyd Rose system. But it's at this point here that I actually want to kind of get into the main bulk of the topic of today's video, at least. And it's that the Nebula Silver Sky is the perfect colorway, at least on a Silver Sky, to really showcase that whole 80s vibe. The whole Sob Rock era as a whole was just a tremendous nod to the 80s and that kind of sound from that era. And we've discussed on the channel, I'm sure if you're a John Mayer fan, you're well aware of John's custom Charvel San Dimas, as well as the multiple Jackson SL1 soloists that he's played, especially on the Sob Rock tour, for songs like I Guess I Just Feel Like, when he performed with Alexander 23 for a cover of Everybody Wants to Rule the World. John has really embraced those kind of instruments and two guitars with the Floyd Rose on them that he's clearly enjoying as well. And this Silver Sky, this Nebula Silver Sky of Neal's, is just one hell of a step now closer to something like John's Jackson, for example. And I think it's just amazing. It's wicked. I'm just sitting here and I got the video of Neal just playing the Silver Sky on in the background after it's been all modified out. And it just looks incredible. The way you can see on the top horn, that gold finish, or the gold kind of flake in the finish with the flip-flopping is coming through. Then you see the pink to the purple, and then the very dark royal blue with the Floyd Rose and the humbucker. It's just one crazy look, and I personally love it. I think it's amazing. And again, I just think it's going to be wicked to see Neal playing this live on tour, because he's posted quite a lot of it through his feed. If you scroll down of him playing it, it's one of the ones that, especially when he got it, he was playing quite a lot, it seemed like, and really enjoying. And the fact that still 3 years almost later to the day he got it, he bit the bullet and modified it to the way he kind of would want a Silver Sky to be for his kind of spec. Obviously, the Silver Sky is a blanket kind of, take on essentially John Mayer's 64 Stratocaster, for being, pretty blunt about what it is. But for Neal, he's more of like, that's great, but I would prefer it a bit more like this, and he's done that. And John Mayer, when he built the Silver Sky and designed it, has always said that at some point he'd like to see himself get further away from the association of the instrument. He doesn't necessarily want it to always be a signature guitar of his. He wants it to become its own thing. And people doing something like this to one of them, Neal, changing up the Silver Sky and essentially doing what John said about his Fender signature, where he said, my name's on the back of it so you can put yours all over the front of it, or all over the rest of the guitar. That's exactly what Neal did. This is a Neal signature Silver Sky, essentially spec'd out wise, and it looks amazing. And honestly, if PRS did something like this from the factory, I think it'd sell amazingly well, especially with John Mayer playing some more 80s style guitars with Floyd Roses on them, using humbuckers a little bit more now on tour. I think, something like this would be really cool, and I hope that John sees this, and I hope, him and Neal get to talking, and maybe we even see a fun guitar collaboration between the two of them one day. John's Nebula and Neal's Nebula. Maybe get Corey Wong in there as well with his Nebula that John gave him too. That'd be really cool, but I've just seen a ton of chatter about this guitar on just different forums and the Gear Lounge on Facebook, and just people sending it to me, asking me my thoughts. So I thought, what, let's discuss this. And again, I get why people might be a bit, they might not necessarily approve of what Neal did, but number one, I don't think he cares. He obviously doesn't care. Number two, I personally actually really like it. I definitely had a bit of a knee-jerk reaction when I saw it, being like, whoa, like he really went to town on that guitar. And after I lived with it for a moment or two, I was like, you know what, that's actually pretty sick. I think I like it a lot. So Neal, I doubt he'd ever watch this video, but if you do, I love this guitar and I hope to see it on tour. Let me know your guys' thoughts on Neal's custom PRS Silver Sky Nebula. Definitely 1 out of 500, and definitely a 1 of 1 now at this point. It's very much its own thing now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below about this guitar. Again, I just think it's sick. I actually really like it, and I've just been really dying for something with the Floyd Rose lately, and this is just adding to that gas, as gearheads say, I guess. So yeah, I like it. Thank you guys for watching this video. As always, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and you're enjoying the content I'm putting out. Really appreciate it. And leave a comment again down below. Your thoughts, comments just help the algorithm out, help my channel grow. If you want to support me in what I'm doing, that's a great way to just help out. Even just, a couple emojis just helps the channel out and helps the video grow. So you guys, until the next one, thanks again so much for watching. Take care. We'll see you on the next one.
Anyway, go ahead and click the subscribe button if you like what you see.